sir.
Okay, well, thanks for coming. This seminar's entitled Baroque Harmonica, and there's a recorder here, and I'll get to explain. So I'm Tony Ayres, this is Boaz Kim. I'll say a little bit about why I'm here and what I'm doing, but up front I'll say this seminar is about how Boaz does this. So it's those of you who know me from Spa will know that I'm a traditional American tune player mostly, but I've been a recorder player, for the last 40 years. I've been playing in the Baroque ensemble that I formed in '95. It's a five-piece. All of the players are conservatorium graduates. Our current violinist plays for the Australian Opera. And I'm saying that just to say that I'm sort of in part of the scene. So what you're seeing with me, and my recorders are a close reproduction of an 18th century recorder. And we're going to play recorder duets written about 1720. So what I'm presenting is I guess for want of a better term, an authentic Baroque sound. So that's me. But what the seminar is about is how Boaz joins with his harmonica and creates the music you're about to hear. So do you want to just give them a little bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. Well, I play the diatonic harmonica. I play a lot of the other harmonicas too. But one of my favorite ones to play is this one. And one of the things that I like to do is I try to play, or I do play chromatically on it and try to get everything to just make it sound like as complete and versatile of an instrument as possible. I just like to play music. And I can do it on the chromatic harmonica too, but it's great to be able to do this. It's kind of like, it's both making music and also it's a challenge, and it just makes everything else stronger too. So,
and what model harmonica is
this is a Special 20, Hohner Special 20.
Regular Special 20?
Yes.
So
NC.
So what we might do is, we're hoping to play a bit for you today, because we love to play. So we're going to start with two movements from a duet. It's actually written as a recorded duet by Jean-Baptiste Loyer de Gaunt, born in 1688. These were published in 1730, but probably written about 1720. So this is sort of right in the middle of the sort of peak Baroque period. Bo's going to play the top line, I'll play the bottom. The pieces are in four movements: slow, fast, slow, fast. We're going to play the first two movements and then stop for a bit of a chat, and then sort of play the next two movements and go on and on like that. So this is in A minor. the first thing I'll say before we get into what on earth players are doing, we're all harmonica players and all of us are saying, what on earth did we just hear? One of the things with a Baroque piece like this is what you're supposed to do, and we don't care one way or the other. You're supposed to wait until all the movements are done.
Yeah.
And then you applaud. But you can clap whenever you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the first thing is the notes. So this is in A minor. So maybe if I just play an A minor scale and then you do it. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a harmonic minor?
Harmonic minor.
This is a harmonic minor.
I guess. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't go up that high. Okay, so one of the things is, I mean, there's various aspects. I mean, I'm going to be the interlocutor here, and feel free to join in. So to sort of ask Boaz about the notes that he chooses for this piece, and we're going to get on some other ones in different keys. So A minor. So what particular sort of overblows would you do in this piece?
Well, it kind of depends. So we're basing this off of the key of C diatonic. So you could also think, if you're a chromatic player, the key of C chromatic harmonica too. Okay, so if we were looking at the score just from the get-go, A minor and C major have no sharps or flats in the key signature. So it's very, very obvious to know if you see an accidental, which is the name for natural signs, sharp signs, flat signs. If you see it in the score, you got to do something. You have to change. You have to alter a note that exists in the C major scale. So if it's a D flat and it has it's a little B sign next to the D, you have to bring it down a half step. Or if if there's a sharp sign, you have to bring it up a half step as well, up a half step. So just looking at the score, if I see one of those symbols, that means I have to either bend to create that note, or I have to use an overblow or overdraw, something like that. If I just played this, I would be missing already from the first complete measure, I would be missing part of the melody, a key part of the melody, the G sharp, if I didn't even bend for it. So it has to be better. And something that we could do that's a little bit fun is we could not only just talk about the notes in this, and we can relate it to harmonic positions, because I'm sure a lot of people, especially diatonic players, are very familiar with that. This we can think of as fourth position minor, okay? So if we just play, and we start on the second note, if we start on the sixth note, it starts on an A. That's without any altered notes, and that's why they call it the A natural minor. But this one is harmonic. So when I'm playing this, and I played it in the middle high register, I know that there's a G sharp. I can get it from the sixth draw and bring it down half step, and that gives me that G sharp. If I wanted to play the same melody, because the course of the diatonic is to lay out switches in almost every single octave, if I wanted to play up in the high octave, which is rather too high, right? It's kind of piccolo register. And then I'm kind of out of notes. So I have to get that half step bend on the 10 blow, and then after
Fortunately,
9.
Fortunately, because he's playing with a recorder, the range of the recorder is 2 octaves and a couple of notes above. So I guess that saves you from having to go up the squeaky end.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to. Okay, so this is the start of a discussion which is going to continue. Let's play the next 2 movements, and then
Excuse me.
Yes.
What is the piece written for?
Okay, so the piece was originally written as a recorder sonata. What that meant is the composer would have written a recorder part, which essentially Boaz played. He would have written either a cello part or viola da gamba, a bass part, and he would have also written with the bass part what are called figures, just a set of numbers which indicate to the harpsichord player what chords to play and how to embellish them. So if you ever see a Baroque concert and see the harpsichord player, they're actually improvising. based on the 18th century equivalent of a jazz chart. Okay, so that's what. But what happened here was the composer took his essentially and we'll talk in a bit about how this music came to be in the public domain. Took this piece and turned it into a duet. So Boas is playing the top part, so he's essentially playing the lead part. I'm actually playing the cello part, but it's been reworked so that the pieces, our parts are kind of equal. Okay, so we'll play the next two movements. This is the adagio. Adagio means slow. And then the final movement, it's an allegro, but it's giga or jig. It's a dance, a jig, like the Irish jigs. And a lot of these movements were based on dances which existed at the time. Okay, so we've got two more movements. Clap whenever you want, preferably while we're not playing. But this is a sparse.
Stay on beat. No. This also has more freedom to move tempo-wise too. So.
All right, so off we go. Okay, so. let's talk about the last note that Boaz played. The first time we did these was, I think it might have been here.
Yeah, 2018 actually.
Yeah.
Maybe at my first spa.
And I'd been, Susan from Germany, I forget her
Susan
name.
Salter.
I'd gotten to know, so we'd played duets together on her Chromatica, and many of those of you will remember what a fabulous player she was. And we played, I think, probably these pieces. And Boaz approached me and he said, "Oh, could I join in? Or could we play?" And it's harmonic. And I said, "Sure." And then sound like this. And the thing which occurred to me, which I want Boaz to talk about, is that it sounded like an oboe. He sounds like an oboe.
Yep.
Okay, so let's lead into that in terms of the tone, how you approach tone for this, particularly for an A minor piece in fourth position.
Yeah. So, actually, since I started on the diatonic harmonica, and one of the first things I learned how to do, because I didn't know about overblows or anything, it's all before YouTube. I learned how to bend. I was never happy with the sound because, I thought I was kind of doing it right, and whatever literature I could find, which was very little, would say you have to bend to get that missing note. If you want the two-draw whole step bend to get that missing F, and if you want the missing A, you have to bend down to it. And I can nail it. I can play it right on, but it never really made me happy. So one of the things that I started doing was I started trying to approach and shape the tone that make the natural notes, the regular blow and draw notes of the harmonica that the reeds are tuned to, and try as hard as I can to get the bent notes and also the overblows and overdraws to sound as even as possible. And because I also grew up as a band kid, I played trumpet for a while. I knew of the idea, especially in the classical world, where they say you want an even tone color from bottom to top. And at least with the trumpet, there's a lot of manipulation here, but the shape never totally changes. You press a valve down and it adds a little bit length of tube, but the instrument never changes. The shape, the physical shape. The harmonica is a little bit different because we're manipulating a reed for just one note, and then we're switching to another note. Like if we play that, and I play, well, I just manipulate technically. I had to use two different holes. 3 draw first and then 2 draw first. And I'm manipulating the reeds there. So that's like a quirk about this instrument. So I would. And I tried to make that A, the half step bend, as close as possible. It's not going to be exact because of the physical thing that's happening with the reeds. But I hope that you hear that the bends are not, hopefully, not popping out to you like, that's a bend. Or an overblow.
Well, also this piece is in A minor. So the last note
is a bent note.
Yeah, so
it's an unstable note.
So let's just play the last line here and listen to the colour of the last note that Boaz plays. It's an A because it's an A minor. And so just think of we're listening to an oboe because that's what I think, a Baroque oboe. Yep. So okay. See what I mean?
So I'm trying to make that note not very muffled. I'm trying to keep the brightness that the harmonica naturally has. I'm trying to put it in that note. So it's kind of disguised. I hope that's coming off to you as well.
And I guess the other thing for me is Baroque oboists are rare. And I've always wanted to play with an oboist in our band. We had one for one concert, beautiful player, but in a Baroque band you play at a semitone lower than modern, so you have a recorder which is actually longer. So this oboe is played at modern pitch, so I couldn't play with it. So I've got to come to Spa and meet up with a harmonica player so that I can get to play with an oboist. Okay, so we're going to yeah.
I have a question for Boaz. Did you you consciously decided to use a diatonic for this. Was there a reason why you didn't choose a chromatic?
I think the main reason was that I just didn't have a chromatic harmonica at the time.
Oh.
And then I got one, and then it was before I played chromatically on this, and the layout bothered me. The layout bothered me. I mean, I'm sure anyone that picks it up, and it's like, what? This note's not right, and there's 2 C's in the way, holes 4 and 5, and like, where am I? Don't even worry about the slide. The regular thing is kind of, kind of a challenge. So I tried this, and because once I learned that, yes, you can play chromatically on it, kind of why not? Kind of like, I mean, the difference is I kind of grew up hearing some of this music, or especially when I was in music school, so it's already in my ear, and yeah, kind of why not try it on this? It's possible.
Could you just repeat the composer and the name of the
Oh,
piece?
so Jean-Baptiste Loyer de Gaunt, and let me hold this up. So we're streaming live. So here's
It's quite a long name there.
I've been playing this piece for 30 years, so yeah, I've figured out, I think, how to say it. Loyer de Gaunt. In fact, you can hold this, because we're done with this.
Or maybe we have someone that speaks French.
Yeah,
Maybe, I think that sounds great.
Okay.
So I have 2 questions. So you use the alto,
This is an alto.
so it
yes.
sounds more like the cello.
Well, no, this sounds like an alto.
Sorry.
Okay, so I am playing a cello part, but it was put into the range of the alto recorder. So these duets were meant for a couple of alto recorders. So this is a standard Baroque solo instrument. All the great composers, Vivaldi wrote for it, Handel, Bach, certainly included in his cantatas, and in the Brandenburg Concerto, it's one of them. It's 2 altos. So it was a major instrument. Okay, so now we're moving on. Same period. This is a fellow called Gottfried Finger, who was born in 1660 in Moravia, which is kind of Germany, I guess. Moved to London, and that's where his career was. So these pieces appeared in 1705. I wish he'd written more, because I love them. Okay, but so we'll play 2 movements, and then we'll stop to chat. But this one, we're in the key of F.
Right.
So maybe we can just start.
Let's start with this.
Yeah, I'll play 2 octaves, and F is sort of the natural key. I mean, this is a chromatic instrument, but F is the natural key, or the E is a... Easy for me. Okay, so F. So what overblows do you have in there? Do you have any?
Yeah, 1 overblow, which is on the 6-hole blow. That gives me that B flat. The key of F only has 1 accidental in it, so you can think of that's the only thing different from a C major scale. It's got that B flat in it. And on the bottom octave, here's another thing about the diatonic. Yeah, we have certain scales. We can play certain scales in 1 octave, but wait, we need a different skill set to play in the next octave. So in the first octave, that's bend. 2-hole draw bend. 2 bends there, A and B flat. This is a 3-hole double bend, draw double bend, and the B flat, which is the half step bend on draw 3. So there's a lot of different notes there, and then on the top, we need that B flat, and that's where we get it from. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to play the first 2 movements of this, and just listen to bow as a sound. So, we've got this recorder. It's a reference, for want of a better term. This Baroque recorder playing a Baroque part. And this one was written for 2 recorders, so it's not I'm not trying to be a cello. I'm not quite playing it. So bow as you start it. So. will say a little bit before we go on, a very, very important part of Baroque performance is the tempo. And quite often with my band, I set the tempo. I'm very conscious of the 16th notes that Boaz is going to hit. So I'm looking at the score and looking at Boaz, are you okay with ba da 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 da? That's a tempo, da 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 da. So 3, so ready?
Mm-hmm.
So 3, 4. So, do you want to, I guess you talked in the first instance about the notes that you chose there, and, how well they fitted in.
I do have some questions. So, in Baroque music, there's a lot of ornamentation. I think, it's probably very challenging to do that on diatonic. So, how do you approach doing ornaments?
Mm-hmm. I'm just doing whatever I can right now, and that's I'm leaving a lot out though right now.
But
I
actually,
could do more.
Because I was going to talk about that's a great question, and so I'm also leaving a fair bit out, but also I'm doing the basic Baroque ornament or trill is at a cadence at the end of the piece, and it starts with what's called an appoggiatura, the note above. So if I played just by myself, the last 2 bars. So with something like this, which is supposed to be vivace, probably a bit fast, but it was fine, I would do the, and I'd sort of go into the trill and speed it up, and sort of give this energy to sort of push into the last note. Now, Boaz can't do that, but what he has been doing is just this little flick, which works. This thing is designed, so for me, just wagging this little finger, that's what Baroque trill's all about. And it's a huge area. Why don't we play just, where's a good
I can kind of add one there too.
Yeah, so why don't we do the last 3 bars? So I'll do my order and add what you think, and let's see how it works. So just from here.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I could do it better. Yeah.
Well, that actually sounds like the kind of trill that you would get on a trumpet.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Especially at that time
This is one of
period.
those questions, right? Because obviously there are like certain kinds of band trills that you can do.
Yeah.
And I wonder, right, because in a lot of Baroque music, it's all about like a very articulate trill. So it's a question of stylistic choice as to whether you would use certain kinds of trills and things like that.
Yeah, I think It kind of depends. That's why I was keeping a lot of them short. I guess it's called a mordant, da-da-da,
Yeah.
or like kind of two grace notes.
Yeah.
And thinking about other instruments, when I hear some chromatic harmonica players do it, and it doesn't lie well for that instrument too. There's, I think, more freedom with the chromatic harmonica overall, with the ornamentations. But sometimes I hear they kind of also break some rules, which is they choose a slide trill when it's not supposed to be a half-step trill.
Yeah.
But they do it because it's easier than maybe a blow draw.
Well, and
pattern.
stylistically, I wondered, right? Because usually on a lot of instruments, a
Yeah.
trill is fairly a simple process. Versus on like most harmonicas, if you need to like change breath direction right there, it's very challenging.
Yeah, it's challenging. And the trumpets at the time didn't have valves, so they
Yeah.
were very high in the harmonic, in the partials, where it's like a scale, and they would do it with just their lip. And the trombones, which did exist back then,
Exactly.
if you slow it down, they got to slide, right? So they have to do it also with their lip, and sometimes it doesn't. It's not the right, like the slide, like the chromatic slide. It's not the right half step that they need. So if you watch some really good ones, they do it with their lip. It's called a lip trill, and they go kind of halfway. They start it da 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 da, and it goes so fast they keep the slide right there. And if you slowed it down. Actually, it's a little bit, but it's a mind trick. It's a ear trick.
I guess the other thing with the Baroque trills and the Baroque ornaments in general is they have to sound natural and just tossed off.
Yeah.
If they sound laboured at all, then they shouldn't be there. That's sort of like a golden rule.
Yeah.
And particularly with French music, the ornamentation of French music is a very deep topic, which I've studied and forgotten most of. Before we get on to the next two movements, one of the things which we're sort of taken for granted, but it shouldn't take for granted, is that we're both very experienced readers of music.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing this for 40 years and performing, since the mid-90s, and Boaz, he's got a performance degree.
Yeah.
And so for Baroque music, reading the score is absolutely essential. It's all from scores. There was actually some improvisation for these kind of things. And so being secure with a score, if there's a little blip, knowing where you are to come back in, I think once I was sort of, hang on, I'm out. And I saw where Boaz was and I came back in, you probably didn't notice. There's a lot, we could spend the afternoon talking about that, but that's sort of more of a music training thing. But one of the things for harmonica players, myself included, so I can't read at all.
But he reads on the recorder.
But if you put the sheet in front of me with my diatonics, I don't know if some of you may have seen me play, so what Boaz is doing is unique, which is why we're having this. So this seminar was my idea, and as I said, it's not about me.
So, and just to clarify, I didn't go to college for the harmonica, but I did start playing the harmonica again in college. I started in middle school, and it was just completely by ear. I learned how to bend notes and was trying to copy some blues songs, but then I stopped for a while. But when I was in college, I wanted to play an instrument again. I was in music school, but I wanted to play an instrument again. I was like, okay, I still have my harmonicas. And so the skill of reading music, I had the skill to read music, but not on this yet. So for if anyone doesn't read music, or maybe on the harmonica at least, it doesn't matter, diatonic, chromatic harmonica, just start with the C major scale. I mean, you almost probably warm up with it or play at some point in your practice, and just try to associate the name to what you're doing. Okay, I'm playing a 4-blow, 4-draw, 5-blow. That's like the fingerings on a trumpet. That's like the fingerings. When you get to high school, you don't say, I want you to play 1 and 3 and 1 and 2 here, or clarinet. I want you to play this and this. No, you say what name. You say the note. I want you to play this. And all of those in the band world, you start off with the fingerings. You write the fingerings in because that's a physical action, how you play the note. But you put the letter name and put it together, and then soon the fingerings are no problem. You just think about kind of what note to play, and F, oh, this. Or, you know, whatever on violin, whatever. I don't know how to play violin. 4 on the G, 3. 1, 2, 3, yeah. So 3 on the G string, high 3 is a C or something like that. They'll learn it, you know. So start off with the C major scale, just associate the names with that first C major scale, and then find some sheet music where maybe it starts on middle C or the 3rd space C, and you could just like stare at it. Okay, that's what it looks like. It's there. It's on this is the music staff, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's here. Okay, put it in my memory. And slowly, it will be integrated into your playing of the harmonica.
It takes a good while to get to what Eyers is doing. Okay, so let's do a couple more moves and keep the conversation. I think we've got about 20 minutes left.
Not even.
No, we got 15 minutes.
Are there any more questions, by the way? Yes.
On the subject of reading, then,
Yes.
what's your perception or opinion of tabs? Either one of you.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm a harmonica teacher, so I can talk about that. Look, tabs have a thing of, okay, these are the notes. With my students, I encourage them, some of them come in, they've got tabs. I encourage them as soon as possible to get rid of them. Okay, because, you know, they're sort of playing like this, you know, instead of playing out to the audience. And so what I do is, you know, the tabs tell you what the notes are, but they don't tell you the rhythm. So the question is, where do you get the rhythm? And so with my students, we will hum a tune. You know, and if it's Kumbaya, and that gives them the rhythm. So that's my approach. So I'm certainly not against tabs, but what I'd say is get rid of them as soon as you learn the tune. You know, they're sort of not part of our tradition. Let's play these last 2 movements, and then we'll probably have time for 1 or 2. And Boas is on at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Is that correct? And the sound check.
I got it. Yeah, sound check at 2. So, can I just add one more thing?
Yeah.
The tabs. I think they're like writing in the fingerings for every single note on the page. That's what I mean. So it's great to start out with, and yeah, try to wean off of it soon, because it also doesn't show what rhythm is. You have to kind of know what it sounds like already. So if you don't have to be, you don't have to read sheet music to be a great harmonica player. You don't. But if you want to play maybe a wider range of music, it's helpful. If you want to play in the studio, that's not just playing like maybe standard like blues or rock sessions, you might need this because they don't know how to write for the harmonica maybe. So, but they want to sound. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to play slow movement, and then there's a last 2 minutes of this piece. Traditionally, these pieces were 4 movements: slow, fast, slow, fast. So we're playing the 3rd movement now. It's a grave, which is slow, and then the last piece they actually didn't really. This would be a gavotte, a dance. That's the last piece. So this one would be. things about, and I guess we've got just a couple of minutes. I've got a. Oh no, we've got about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 10 minutes. Okay, a couple of things about Baroque performance style. So, my Baroque soulmate is Amanda. We've been playing together for about almost 35 years. She went to the Royal College of Music in London. She lives in Sydney, and she's a soprano and she plays Baroque flute. And you know, we formed our band together. But she's sort of my mentor, has always been and still is, and will lecture me sternly about things I get wrong, and I listen, because she knows more than I do. And one of them is, how do you set the tempo for a piece? Now here I was very careful to get it right so that I can make the 16th notes. But in a performance, we don't go 1, 2, 3. It's just gauche in a Baroque performance. So how do you set the and if you don't set the tempo, it's a train wreck. Okay, so one is, if it's in 3, 1, 2, 3, go. And just that breath. And you'll see that often, okay? But it turns out that Amanda doesn't like that. It's unprofessional. And she's right. So, if it's in 3, and I look at the score and I do, the signal to the band is, so my recorder, 2, 3, bum, bum, and we start. And that gives them, the other thing is that when we end, you end at the same time. So my recorder, so Boaz is watching the end of my recorder, and I do this, that's when we finish. So these are all these aspects of sort of Baroque performance practice, so that it goes, and the idea is that you don't notice them as an audience, you know, just these.
Well, now we know it. So
Yeah.
Give it up.
There's another thing about this music. I'm not sure if you're perceptive of it, because of course they compose it so well. But this one is in F major, right? But it doesn't stay in F major, does it?
It modulates.
It modulates, exactly.
Should we? Because we did look at this. Do you want to?
Well, I mean, you can go back to
No. This. Remember this movement. It goes from G major to B flat.
Oh, well, there's a clear key change there, but not in that previous one.
No, this one's sort of a fairly simple dance to finish. So this is pretty straight up and down.
There's a slight key change here. So it briefly modulates a C major.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's try this. I thought we'd play our last bit, but this is only just a short one. Okay, so we're in G major. So play your G major scale. Okay, how many overblows?
1 overblow, which is on the 5-hole blow. They get that F sharp. And then at the top register, you have the 9-blow bend. So that's not an overblow, but it's a regular bend.
So my G major scale is. I've got to put the recorder on my knee. Actually, that's something I haven't really quite figured out. Okay, so we start in G major, then we move to B flat. So play B flat scale. Yeah, that's with the recorder.
Should have got the more expensive one.
Yeah, I know.
So for me, the B flat is a tricky key. I mean, this is a note that all the diatonic players really struggle with. That half step bend. You're trying to get that nicely, just about a half step, that blue third. And this one, so it starts off on an unstable note. This is 11th position, by the way. And that's the 6 overblow. It's kind of an unstable note. So that's what's going on there. And there's a 4 overblow for the E flat.
So with that in mind, let's try this last movement. And it says poco largo, which means kind of slow. We'll make it sort of friendly. Yeah, so yeah.
So it's also starting on ending on a. So it's actually kind of starting on a E minor.
Yeah, I guess.
Minor.
Look, let me point out, I can't do any of this. I can't even do a single overblow. I've never done an overblow. So don't ask me what's going on. And I mean, for a recorder, this is a fairly basic, it's not a difficult piece for recorder players.
Well, you know, recorder, you still do some half-hole stuff, right?
Sure.
To get the chromatic pitches. So there's holes in the, not everyone knows about that feature.
Yeah, well, one of the things with
Yeah,
the
the
recorder,
half-cover
you're using, I guess, what's called cross finger or forked fingers. So if you watch me play, you know, the B flat scale, and so I mean, the recorder, every instrument has its difficulties.
Yeah.
You know, and the top register of the recorder can be challenging unless you get a really nice instrument, which I've got here. Yeah. So this is not a school recorder.
So anytime I struggle with this, and I struggle with it a lot, I think about, you know, every instrument has its own unique challenges that the musician learns to overcome. You know, there's like, you can buy a really well-built trumpet. I'm very familiar with the construction of them, and always the fourth space E, E flat and D, and C sharp, always flat, built flat, by about 15 cents, because it's naturally the harmonic series. So you could think just intonation, pre-war Marine Band sound. But we're not always hearing flat out-tuned trumpets. Would Hollywood hire that? Would the New York Philharmonic hire that? No. So the musicians learn to compensate. You know, every note, every instrument has a tendency tone, and that's kind of the same thing with the overblows and bends. You know, bends are really flexible. Can you play at F and just try to keep? It's not in tune. No, it kind of sounded like a truck sound, right? Go ahead. You know, I'm trying to match it, and could you play another note? Could you play either B flat, or could you play? Oh, that's a 6 overblow. Can you play again? Hold it. So I'm bending it, and then learning where they sit, and kind of, I mean, it's a flexible thing. This, and here's muscle, you know. It's not going to be exact like a machine or like a tuned reed. But even the chromatic harmonica suffers from that around usually that low D. If you listen to a lot of players, it lies a little bit too flat, especially if you use a lot of throat vibrato. Oh, the pitch sags a lot, but we're kind of used to it. So that's the challenges of this. If you want to play this and try to sound this as pretty as you can on this instrument that was built to play a couple of chords and folk melodies, you know, in a diatonic key. And for me, it's opened some doors. And
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, every instrument, the idea is to overcome the difficulty, or to not display the difficulties, so that when you play the music, it just sounds natural and effortless. And for me, I mean, I'm an experienced player, but this falls very easily under the fingers. Boaz playing, adapting this instrument, you know, using the tuning things he just showed you then. At the end of the day, you know, when you listen to us play, it both sounds kind of effortless and sounds like, you know, you enjoy the music.
You're in Monet's garden in Giverny, and you're seeing all the light dappling off the water and the plants at different times of the day.
Yeah, so, you know, you're aware of the music and you're not aware of the difficulties of the instrument. And that's sort of what this seminar is about. I think we're pretty much at the end. And about,
yeah, we are.
You're on the big stage in 30 minutes and a sound check right now.
Yeah.
So, look, why don't you go and do your thing?
Okay.
And we'll, but look, this seminar was all about Boaz, and it's pretty manic.
Tony Eyers, everyone, from Australia.